Terra is going to be boosting up that first move of type that is used once that Urshifu is terastallized. Let's go though, Lou. We're about to get into things for our very first match of the 2024 Pokemon World Championships between Adam, Cherfaoui, and Shohei Kimrua.
Let's see the sparks fly on that battlefield as we kick off the Pokemon World Championships 2024. Out here on the field for Adam, it is the Calyrex Shadow Rider paired up with that Rillaboom. And on the opposing side, a tried and tested duo in the form of that Incineroar and the Amoonguss. There's a lot of fake out potential on the field right now.
There is. We have the Rillaboom and the Incineroar that are both going to be packing that move, but it's going to be that Rillaboom that's going to be taking that attack drop there from the Incineroar's Intimidate on the other side. Right away, though, the fact that Adam is led with the Shadow Rider Calyrex, he has a lot of options on the table to just kind of bully through these Pokemon on Shohei's side with pure offense.
And I think as well, you want to try and remove that Amoonguss from play before it can maybe go for some spores and start slowing down the Pokemon in your team. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that being the target here. Something like maybe even just a big damage coming through from an Astral Barrage. Terrestrialization coming straight out on the field. This is what we want to see, some sparkling in the arena as the Calyrex Shadow Rider goes into Terra Fairy here.
The Terra Fairy is going to be so nice because Shohei's Incineroar actually does have knockoff. It's not going to be carrying a fire-type attack like we normally see with something like the Flare Blitz. And so this Terra Fairy is going to be a very nice way to be able to protect it itself there as Adam starts to get set up here with those Calm Mind boosts. Knows that the endgame right now could be Shadow Rider Calyrex versus Shadow Rider Calyrex.
Honestly, love to see this. The parting shot comes through. We'll be able to lower those drops here, but the synergy support from that Rillaboom, making sure that the Calyrex was in a safe position to get that Calm Mind off, doesn't have to worry about a potential spore, as well as the fact that the Fairy Terror supports it against that Incineroar. The one nice thing for Shohei here is you have the utility to pivot something in. You've intimidated the Rillaboom, and now you can bring the Rillaboom of your very own in to now apply some pressure.
And now that you're not a ghost type, you are vulnerable to fake out. That
Yes.
is a move that this Rillaboom has that you could be able to help actually try to get that fake out. But that would be nice if there weren't for that Clover Cloak, and that's why Adam has made the adjustment to have a little bit more of a defensive item rather than an offensive component.
It's definitely a good trick to have up your sleeve in a meta where we do have a lot of fake out on the field, particularly if you do, as you said, have to give up your ghost typing. You don't want to leave yourself vulnerable.
Absolutely. So no fake out on the field here to try to shut down the Shadow Rider Calyrex, but that is not the same for the Rillaboom across the way. There's no fake out though. It's just going to go for some type of attack as we see the Astral Barrage hit into both of these Pokemon. But thanks to that drop that we ended up seeing there from that parting shot, actually did help this Rillaboom survive up until the point that it got knocked out to the U-turn.
Yeah, Rillaboom doesn't do many things better than Revenge, but it got intimidated, so it's like, I'm going to do a critical hit here with this U-turn and be able to KO the opposing Rillaboom while also enabling a little bit of pivoting on my trainer's side. You can see the Pokemon in the back here for Adam, bringing Pokemon in like the Roaring Moon that's going to have the potential to, help balance out a mirror match as we're seeing here, as well as a powerhouse like that Urshifu. He's taking his time to think about it though.
Yes, I mean, because that's the thing, right? You really want this Roaring Moon on the other side of something like that Shadow Rider Calyrex, just to know that you're not going to end up wasting a booster energy as well. We don't know what that's going to end up amplifying because we could see an attack or a speed, but look at the Spore. Urshifu, kind of like an unfortunate target for that, knowing that maybe Shohei was kind of thinking that this Rillaboom was actually going to disappear from the field. What a call.
Yeah, really nice to be able to catch that there, because that could have gone very sideways if the Rillaboom decided to stay in play, but it now allows Shohei to bring the Calyrex Shadow Rider on his side of the field into fruition here. One of the interesting things now is when you take a look at the Calyrex Shadow Rider on Adam's side, it's not going to be able to KO the Amoonguss this turn with another Astral Barrage, which must be tempting to go into with the Calyrex on the field on Shohei's side.
It is, but Adam is just going to remove this Urshifu from the field and not going to try to get these wake-up turns starting to stack up. Instead, going to switch in this Roaring Moon, which we can get a chance to see what this booster energy is going to give a boost to, and it should be the speed that we are seeing here for this Roaring Moon.
Yes, and this is what Adam needs here to be able to apply a lot of pressure. You can go for something like the Tailwind, in the next turn once Roaring Moon's allowed to move and get the speed boost up, or you could always go for your boosted acrobatics now that you've lost your item and try and remove this Amoonguss from play. The Dark Terrestrialization, though, very interesting onto that opposing Shadow Rider Calyrex. That's something that the Draining Kiss is going to be eyeing up.
It would absolutely do that, but I think it's going to be a great call because know that you might actually be able to survive that based on how you're trained, which provides a Shohei this perfect opportunity to go for the nasty plot here. That's going to be +2 to this Shadow Rider Calyrex's special attack on his side.
This is where things get very interesting, though, because we don't know exactly how these Calyrexes are going to match up in terms of speed. Depending if that speed boost is enough for the Roaring Moon, it can always try and get a Tailwind up and kind of remove the fear of which Calyrex is going to go first and then apply a huge amount of damage.
You can see why this Dark Terra is so good just to go for it regardless, because you know that this Roaring Moon also has a super effective Dark type attack with that knockoff, so you just want to make sure that you are terrestrializing in a defensive way to also make sure that you can withstand one of those attacks.
But the Nasty Plot boost will be huge damage out here on the field. We're actually going to see Amoonguss use his regenerator ability to get a little bit of HP back, come back onto the field a little bit later on to threaten on the field as the Incineroar throwing another Intimidate down. This is nice against that opposing Roaring Moon, but of course we know that the Calyrex isn't going to worry about that at all.
No, but that is going to help with this knockoff as you go into the Incineroar. Take a look at that. It should be doing more damage knowing that this Incineroar is actually holding an item. And that is such a little amount of damage. So the Incineroar able to tank that, also provide that attack drop. And now this is time for this Shadow Rider Calyrex and Shohei side to go. That is an Astral Barrage into both targets, not necessarily securing a knockout. But you can see here on the return of this, that's very little damage.
Yes, the defensive Terra type really working out there for Shohei. I have to say, though, the Roaring Moon going first in that match, very interesting to see the speed come through. But as you've mentioned as well, little damage from that knockoff thanks to the Intimidate. And now that you also do not have a Ghost Calyrex opposing you, that knockoff is really not going to be doing too much. If I was Adam now, I'd probably be thinking, hey, my Roaring Moon isn't dealing damage, let's use it for some support. Get a Tailwind up, ensure that my Calyrex is going to be able to outspeed and try and get some damage. But even then, the Calyrex is underwhelming in the pressure it's giving out.
I mean, you really want to try to get these Combine boosts up. At the very least, you know that your special defense is going to be a little bit bolstered, but because of that parting shot earlier, you're still at a neutral special attack, not able to secure a knockout. It means that you also aren't able to get that engine up and running to snowball that special attack stat.
You want to get the Grimnaze rolling through, and it looks like Shohei might be within range of getting one in this particular turn. A defensive play by the Roaring Moon as the Amoonguss join the field here, so the Protect coming through as the Protect come through as well. Adam playing very defensively this turn.
Yeah, you saw Shohei actually go for a little bit of a pop-off here. Was kind of hoping maybe that he'd be able to get some type of attack off onto the Shadow Rider Calyrex, but unfortunately not going to be able to do the job just yet. This Amoonguss still being on the field is so problematic. There isn't really a great way for Adam to remove it at the moment. Maybe the acrobatics from this Roaring Moon could help out just to be able to deal that super effective damage, knowing that the Terra has already been used on Shohei's side, but that Intimidate, is it really going to be able to do enough here?
You're going to need another critical hit, I think, to be able to get through that Amoonguss, particularly at full health. And you also have the utility of your Shohei just to switch in the Incineroar again later and throw another Intimidate down. Amoonguss doing what it does best, be providing a little bit of protection, going for that Rage Powder and drawing in all of these attacks. But no, Roaring Moon going, I'm not targeting you, I'm going for the Tailwind. Let's get the speed on my side and see what my partner can do.
But you can see why this is so effective, because you do actually have that Draining Kiss heading into the Amoonguss, so the Rage Powder able to redirect it away from a super effective hit into that Dark Terra Shadow Rider Calyrex, as Shohei continues to go all out on the offense at a +2 special attack. There's plenty to get a double knockout. That's going to be a sharp special attack increase. That's a +4 for this Shadow Rider Calyrex on Shohei's side.
This Calyrex is mean on Shohei's side. It's got all the boosts, all the damage, and it's got the support. The one thing Adam has got going, though, is that Tailwind support, but whether it's going to be enough.
Well, I don't think it can be. You've got the Urshifu.
How do you stop it?
It hasn't been able to take one of its mandatory turns, so there's no opportunity for it to actually wake up on this next turn that it hits the field. You are able to buy yourself a little bit of time. You do have the fake out here from this Rillaboom that could help, and you do have the Assault Vest. So there is going to be a little bit of defensive capability from this Rillaboom to try to withstand some of these Astral Barrage, but you're +4.
The Assault Vest, I think, is going to be null and void at this point. The thing as well is you've got the Urshifu. You might love to be able to go for a close combat into that Dark type Calyrex here, but you have to worry about the Amoonguss. You can't even taunt it because you have to taunt it twice to be able to shut down its redirectional support with Rage Powder. Particularly when Incineroar just keeps doing the hokey pokey and getting in and out here and throwing these Intimidates down against these physical attackers. Urshifu taking a nap. Wake up, it's Worlds!
Wake up, it is Worlds. That Wood Hammer, though, it's going to take one more of those to be able to actually get the damage down onto the Shadow Rider Calyrex, knock it out. But before it's able to do that, it's going to have to take this one for Astral Barrage. It is just going to be a one-hit knockout there onto that Rillaboom, essentially, with the Focus Sash allowing this Urshifu to hang on. But now this Incineroar is freshly on the field. There's another fake out in hand. And Shohei is going to shore up this very first game of this best of 3.
Honestly, how many boosts does this Calyrex want to be able to get right now? I think if you're the opponent,
6?
You're going to be haunted by this image forever. Definitely a way for Shohei to kick off the tournament, and Adam knowing, hey, game 1's over, let's reset, let's focus, and go to game 2.
Yes. Wow, what a phenomenal performance so there by Shohei.
Yeah.
It was tough because at the very beginning, you take a look at Adam being able to get that calm mindset up early on by that Shadow Rider Calyrex. Feels like it's going to have a little bit more staying power with that special defense boost and the special attack as well. Okay, if you're able to stack up a couple more of those, then maybe you really have a good thing going for you.
I agree. I think the way that Adam was able to kind of get that calm mind up, put him into a good position, but Shohei just read him like a book, was able to go for that parting shot, not only then kind of negate the attack boost that it got, but then allow more pivoting in and out, particularly when it went for the Cherfaoui. It was then susceptible to, you know, some damage coming through as well. I think for me, the key thing is that Dark Terror on Shohei's Calyrex, because that meant that it was just so resistant to a lot of the damage that the Calyrex on Adam's side was putting through. Yes, he could go for the Draining Kiss, but just due to the low impact it was dealing out, I think you're going to have to do at least 2 to be able to get that knockout.
That's the thing, right? Is it's important to keep in mind that the base power of Draining Kiss is still very low.
Yeah.
And a lot of the instances that we've been able to see a Cherfaoui Shadow Rider Calyrex actually get a big knockout with Draining Kiss, it's already had a couple of special attack boosts stacked up to be able to try to get a knockout like that. So I think it's gonna be tough. Shohei was ready for that calm mind. You saw the parting shot immediately. That was a great way to pivot out the Incineroar, also keeping that special attack stat in check and allowed Shohei the opportunity to actually get his own out on the field. He had that nasty plot. He knew exactly when to be able to position that Shadow Rider Calyrex so he could get the nasty plot and just get more boosts.
Yep, and as you saw there as well, I think the Amoonguss was instrumental in that game 1. Getting the Spore down onto what was the Rillaboom slot and being able to catch that Urshifu just meant one of the big powerhouses on Adam's side was completely null and void. And you needed that close combat to be able to deal with the opposing Shadow Rider Calyrex, which is not something you say every day, considering it's traditionally a ghost type. But being able to apply that pressure, even with something like the Surging Strikes, would have been really, really nice. My question, however, yes, you got to get through the Calyrex, but how are you getting through this Amoonguss? I think you really have to rely on the Warring Moon and not allow it to get intimidated, because when the acrobatics is boosted up, once you lose the booster energy, you're able to deal a significant amount of damage because the damage increases without the item, right? And you do have the Terra flying on there as well to give it the extra boost. But are you ready to commit your Terra to that Roaring Moon? Is it worth it?
I think that's the question. We saw with the Tailwind that the Tailwind was plenty for a lot of the pieces on Adam's team to actually be faster than the Shadow Rider Calyrex on Shohei's side. That's very important to consider, especially when it came down to like the Rillaboom's Woodhammer. It's still going to be a pretty offensive piece, especially if you can get that Woodhammer down with that same type of attack bonus damage on grassy terrain. A lot of those modifiers are going to add up, so you can actually start whacking away at some of this like big tanky damage and energy coming out from Shohei's team. But on the other side of things, where do you actually put that Roaring Moon in?
I would like to see it earlier rather than later so it can apply the pressure it needs, but
Tailwind's up.
That's true. Let's see what's coming out on the field. And it looks a little familiar here, Rosemary. We've got Incineroar and the Calyrex Shadow Rider out on the field for both these trainers.
It is looking like looking in a mirror.
Oh yeah, quite literally. They're even like matched across the field here. But you start to see the abilities coming through as well. The Intimidate's coming through. That's only really going to be able to affect the opposing Incineroars. And I wonder now if these Calyrexes are going to want to stay unterrestrialized.
I think it's really important to note the order of which these Intimidates actually go through. Adams ending up getting those Intimidates out first. It does seem like maybe that Incineroar is going to be a bit faster. So is that knowledge that Shohei is concerned about when kind of looking at, okay, well, where could Fake Out come through? Adams would be faster if you do try to fake out the Incineroar on the opposing side.
I'd be almost tempted if I was Adam to just go for a parting shot here to just try and reduce the potential nasty plot coming through from the opposing side, particularly if it does want to terrestrialize, because if it goes into that Dark Terror, I really do not see a lot that Adam's Pokemon on the field right now can do to deal damage, other than the Draining Kiss, I guess.
Well, the Draining Kiss is nice too, because that secondary effect is that you restore some of the HP from the damage that you're dealt out. So maybe you are able to, after one Calm Mind or something, be able to try to outpace the damage that Shohei is putting on the field.
Exactly, and we're going to see the beautiful and bejeweled Calyrex Shadow Rider on the field once again, going for that Dark Terror, making sure that it's not going to be taking super effective damage from an Astral Barrage here, wanting to make sure it's got its defensive capabilities in play to maybe go for one of those nasty plots, but it's going to be Sparkles all around, Rose.
It is, because that's going to be yet another terrestrialization onto Adams, and based on the terrestrialization, we can also get more confirmation that Shohei's Shadow Rider is faster.
Yes.
That's going to be the first to terrestrialize. We've also seen that move before Adams, and here's the nasty plot. We're going to get a lot of setup.
Not only does it look faster, but it looks pretty ferocious to me. It's setups on both sides here. The Calm Mind coming through on Adams here, making sure that special defense and special attack are boosted up. Really, really interesting to see if the Incineroars, yes, they are going to be able to follow the speed of the Intimidates here. So the parting shot comes through on Adam's side. I wonder if it's going to be a parting shot on the opposing side as well.
I think it would be a fantastic choice for Shohei to have made.
Yeah.
You expect that you're going to be doing some type of setup, then maybe you are predicting that Adam is trying to go for the same thing, and it would allow you to just make sure that you are keeping that opposing Shadow Rider Calyrex's stats in check. You'd be the only one with a boost in that case.
Exactly, and it's interesting to see, which Pokemon are going to come through here, because that Roaring Moon is primed to try and come out and set that Tailwind up so that your Calyrex Shadow Rider is able to gain that speed advantage here in this mirror. You don't currently have to worry about an Amoonguss on the field, so you're going to be able to, just focus in on supporting the Calyrex rather than having to deal out the damage. And there's the speed boost again from the booster energy.
Yep, and it is going to be a parting shot. So mirrored turns sort of on the same side, but what the Shohei actually tried to bring out to take this Incineroar's place. The fact that Adams was first, you now get a good idea of like, okay, well, I know there's a Roaring Moon.
Yes.
So how am I going to be able to counter that? I ended up bringing the Rillaboom in the last game, I want to say, that does have the fake out. Oh no, the Amoonguss, sorry. There was a grass type. I just had the wrong
They were
one.
both there. They were both there.
Yeah.
But I think the Amoonguss could be the really pivotal Pokemon here, being able to go for something like the redirection and draw in a potential Draining Kiss. But it is going to be that Rillaboom.
Rillaboom here makes a lot of sense. Now you have the opportunity to actually fake something out. You think that this Roaring Moon is going to be more of the problem. You could go for that, but you have to keep in mind that both of Adam's Pokemon on the field right now do have the opportunity and option to go for Protect.
Yes, be able to go for a defensive play, and we know that Adam isn't afraid of doing that. It's whether Shohei wants to read into that, make a really bold play, and go for something like a Nasty Claw, but he doesn't need to. He's got the momentum right now. You could always just try and get some damage on the board with something like the Astral Barrage. Just try and get these Pokemon into a prime position to be KO'd, maybe even with a Grimnay boost. But you can also allow your Rillaboom to shine. There's no fake out coming through, that the Acrobatics comes through, not enough to be able to get the knockout, however, as the Astral Barrage from Shohei's is going to come through, connect on both the opposing Pokemon. No KO though, but of course the Calyrex Shadow Rider is not going to be able to take another one of those in the next turn.
No, but I mean, the fact that we do see this Astral Barrage in return with the Rillaboom already taking as much damage as it has, we're not going to be able to see what move it is going for in this turn. It just gets knocked out for all of its troubles, and because of how low it was, it's actually going to give over a Grimnay boost to Adams. So we're kind of back up on par here, +1 for both of these Shadow Rider Calyrex's special attack.
In both games 1 and 2, Adam has very kind of cleanly been able to remove the Rillaboom on the opposing side from the field. Shohei's Rillaboom really hasn't done much other than set up the terrain. The interesting thing in this next turn, we know that that Roaring Moon is faster. It can go for a Tailwind, try and get some speed up on Adam's side of the field, enabling that Calyrex Shadow Rider with its new Grimnay boost to be able to put some pressure onto the field, maybe even get in range of a KO. But I think due to the Dark typing, it's going to be really difficult. Maybe a Draining Kiss here, particularly with the Terra Fairy boosting up those Fairy type moves, you might be able to just get the knockout, but if an Amoonguss comes into that slot, the redirection is going to really put a thorn in your side.
It's going to be very close, though, to whether Adams actually even gets a chance to move. That was a lot of damage that came there from the Astral Barrage, just about half. So it could be a bit of a roll, maybe. And I don't even think you're particularly worried about... I think actually if you're Shohei, you're not particularly worried about the amount of HP that this Shadow Rider Calyrex has. Despite the fact you might not actually be able to flinch the target, you're still faster. You could end up going for something like a fake out into the Shadow Rider Calyrex if you predict that maybe this Roaring Moon is not going to actually try to go for Tailwind.
You know what I like is the Incineroar on Shohei's side is running Helping Hand. That could potentially be what the Calyrex needs to be able to get the knockout on the opposing side. But not today on the Calyrex on Adam's side. It has gone for the Protect. The fake out actually going down into the Roaring Moon, allowing the Calyrex on Shohei's side to try and go for another one of these Astral Barrages.
Oh, the Roaring Moon. We saw how much it took that turn prior. It does not have any additional boost on Shohei's side, but it's not actually going to be enough to secure the knockout onto this Roaring Moon. That Protect, though, is going to be very beneficial for the Shadow Rider Calyrex to get a little bit of extra terrain healing. Yes. So maybe you're a little bit more confident if you're Adam that you would survive another Astral Barrage.
I think if it's a regular Astral Barrage, fine. Yes, Adam's Calyrex is going to be able to hang on there. But if there is the potential for that Helping Hand, that's where the momentum could really swing in Shohei's favor, particularly as we know that Calyrex Shadow Rider is currently the faster at the moment. It all depends if Roaring Moon wants to go for that Tailwind and try and even the score.
Adam has a very big decision to make here, though. Do you try to go for another Combine to see if you can actually try to withstand this Astral Barrage with the Helping Hand with something like the Tailwind? Oh, wait, there's actually just a protect here.
Yeah, this is a big opportunity here for Adam. Whether he's going to be able to capitalize on it, let's see. The Tailwind is in place, so the speed is on Adam's side, but whether you can get that special defense and the special attack boost out with the Calm Mind, it is now in play. Incineroar might go for a parting shot, might try and bring down the special attack, but that special defense is staying where it's at, boosted.
Yeah, even though you do see that parting shot come through, you are able to continue to mitigate some of the Shadow Rider Calorex's special attack. You still have to deal with the fact that it's under Tailwind now.
Yeah.
It is going to be faster than you. That Roaring Moon also going to be faster. And there's no additional option here for Fake Out that Shohei can switch in. That Rillaboom has already gone down. So what is going to be this fourth and final Pokemon for Shohei in this game too?
Going to be good information for Adam so he can pivot the Pokemon around to see which formidable threat is there. It's got to be something to support this Shadow Rider Calyrex, and it's going to be that Amoonguss. It has the potential to go for these Rage Powders, draw in some attacks. Obviously, we know the Roaring Moon's been intimidated, and it's kind of on its last legs. Another Astral Barrage will be able to KO it. But the Calyrex Shadow Rider on Adam's side, if you go for the Astral Barrage, that's going to deal some decent damage, but I don't think it's getting the knockout into the opposing Calyrex here.
No, I mean, it's gonna be really close, right? Maybe this Amoonguss is able to hang on through something, but it's just a protect. Protect from the Amoonguss, and because it's slower, there's actually not gonna be a protect coming through from this Shadow Rider Calyrex. Predicting that this Acrobatics from the Roaring Moon was trying to target down this Amoonguss, but can this Astral Barrage actually do it? Shohei is banking on the fact that it will not, as the Astral Barrage +1 is not going to be enough, not nearly enough to secure the knockout. So an Astral Barrage in return, we know it should not be able to knock out this Shadow Rider Calyrex with those +2 Calm Mind boosts, but it's enough to get this Roaring Moon and yet another special attack boost with that Grimnay.
This is the thing, Roaring Moon did its job in terms of setting up the Tailwind, but by going down, you give the Grimnay boost to the opposing Calyrex. That's going to make things a little bit more difficult. Even if you have +2 special defense, it's still going to hurt coming through with the boosts. And how do you deal with the Amoonguss? Amoonguss is sitting on the field, very pretty, full HP. You have the Incineroar. That is one way to be able to try and deal with it. You could always go for something like the Flare Blitz here, but there's still the Incineroar in the back for Shohei as well that can apply Intimidate and make it more difficult for the Incineroar on Adam's side.
Yeah, it's also important to note, though, too, that we do actually have kind of like a difference in strategy here from Adam. He ended up opting to leave the Urshifu at home. That would have been really nice just to have as an extra.
Still nothing, Rosemary.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little too early for that Urshifu at the moment.
But you're right, though. It's such a key physical attacker, and having that close combat would be really, really nice. But when you have the support of something like the Amoonguss, it makes it very difficult for Urshifu to shine. So some really nice adjustments here. Adjustments on the field, actually, getting rid of those boosts and going, I need to intimidate this opposing Incineroar. And that's exactly what Shohei is doing, knowing that the Calyrex Shadow Rider, and when Tailwind is ended, can come back and be formidable. But here we go, the Astral Barrage, decent damage into the Amoonguss. Another one will KO.
Yeah, that's the other thing, right? Is that you do have the opportunity to go for Rage Powder, but the fact that Astral Barrage is that spread attack, you know your own Shadow Rider is not going to be able to withstand that. So instead, you get rid of the boost. It's a very big risk to take, but you are hopeful that the Tailwind is going to expire. But the Amoonguss, yeah, getting knocked out for its troubles does mean that Shohei is on his final 2 Pokemon for this game too.
I like that, though. You've dealt with the Amoonguss, it's gone. You're now forcing the Calyrex Shadow Rider, the last 2 remaining Pokemon on Shohei's side, to come back into the field, and it has had to forego its boosts here at this point as well. That nasty plot, the Grimnay, is gone.
It is gone, and it is still a pretty bulky Pokemon, though. So if you're worried a little bit about this Incineroar, maybe you're still able to survive a Flare Blitz, but there's still one more turn of Tailwind. A little bit predictable, I think. Maybe Shohei, knowing that he might have to go for something like a Protect on this Calyrex, try to get the speed back in his favor. But the Incineroar here still is able to try to get a little bit of stuff done. Shohei's Incineroar does have a knockoff. It has the Helping Hand again, like you mentioned. So Helping Hand at the end of the day might still be beneficial, but Shohei being on his last 2 Pokemon here is a very tough ask as you take a look at this Rillaboom in the back coming in with full HP.
Yeah, bringing that terrain back to the field as well to help out the Calyrex and apply something like the Fake Out pressure going into the next turn, because I think Shohei might protect it, exactly what we're seeing, stall out the last turn of Tailwind and allow your Calyrex to be faster, but then the Fake Out in the next turn is going to be able to stop it in its tracks. Here comes through another Astral Barrage, obviously only going to be able to target down into that opposing Incineroar, do a little bit of damage, but a little is a lot at this point, because another one of those, particularly paired up with anything that Rillaboom wants to throw through, is going to be able to get the knockout on that opposing Incineroar.
It all adds up. Even just a little bit of chip damage coming through from the knockoff, it does remove this covert cloak. Not really a big deal anymore in this matchup because you don't have Fake Out available anymore or any other sort of
secondary effects, through.
Right? Exactly.
I mean, looking at this right now, yes, it kind of looks telegraphed. You can put the Fake Out down into that opposing Calyrex Shadow Rider, go for another Astral Barrage. The Incineroar on Shohei's side doesn't have Protect either, so it's going to have to take the full brunt force of one of these attacks. Looks like the double Protect failed there on the opposing side as the Fake Out comes through, connects, and stops it in its tracks. The double damage coming through here, targeting on both Pokemon, going to be able to get a knockout on the Calyrex, and then it's just a matter of time for the little kitty cat.
It's not going to be able to get through all of this. There's no Flare Blitz on Shohei's Incineroar, so no way to hit this Rillaboom for super effective damage. And even if you are able to go for a knockoff here, still just not quite enough to distribute that damage across the board. So that is 1-1. We're going into a game number 3 here for our very first match of the 2024 Pokemon World Championships.
That makes it very exciting. It shows the absolute mastery caliber of play from these trainers, particularly the way Adam was able to adapt in that game too. Shohei locking on the forfeit, saying, let's go to a game 3 and see who is going to win this set.
Wow, great adjustment there from Adam, leaving the Urshifu at home. Meant that he just had so much more opportunity to try to weave in those Fake Outs, make sure that you can get those Intimidate drops. A lot more pivoting potential as well with something like the Parting Shot as well as the U-turn, which in tandem kind of follows a very similar vein of strategy that Shohei was going for as well, bringing his own Rillaboom into this game number 2.
Yes, unfortunately for Shohei though, the Rillaboom hasn't really done a lot. It's not able to get a lot of offensive pressure on the field. The offensive pressure is really coming from the Calyrexes. As you can see here, getting those boosts up very early doors in this game too just meant that you had to rely on the Incineroars going for these parting shots to try and negate some of that pressure onto the field. The Astral Barrage not only dealing a huge amount of damage, but also hitting both Pokemon on the opposing side, leaves very little room for error here.
Really does. And this particular moment as well, when you actually end up seeing this Protect come through from the Calyrex, I know you're trying to make sure that you are not going to be taking too much damage from something like this Shadow Rider Calyrex on the other side. You see Shohei just kind of like, you know, he cringed a little bit. He's like, oh, this is definitely not what I wanted to see. Another Calm Mind boost meant that Adams was starting to get out of hand.
But I love that. Adam playing, you know, a bold choice to go for a second setup in a match, but capitalizing so well on Shohei's defensive play. And also, I think, in the end game, bringing in the Rillaboom right at the end, going, hey, you're going to play defensively again. You're going to protect on the last turn of Tailwind. I got your number here. I'm bringing in my Fake Outer so that I can make these adaptations. And I really loved seeing that come through. If we focus a little bit onto Game 3, both these trainers have kind of obviously brought their restrictors, they've brought some really big support. Shohei in the form of that Incineroar, but also critically the Amoonguss. In Game 2, Adam was able to play around that Amoonguss a little bit better, being able to already have kind of your stacked, boosted Calyrex with the Astral Barrage, dealing a significant amount on the field.
It did, and then Amoonguss not being able to put something to sleep, you would also feel just how pivotal in that game number 1 that Spore really was. Just completely removing a piece from the field meant that you just had so much more room to operate with in terms of getting your own nasty pots, just dishing out that damage. The Amoonguss staying alive a little bit longer to get the regenerator, make sure that you're actually cycling through those Illuminates. And we'll see how either of these players decides to adjust. For Shohei, it is going to be an adjustment of leaving the Incineroar either on the bench or in the back, and this Amoonguss now on the field instead. Adam trying to go back through with that Game 2 game plan.
I love this coming out from Shohei here, knowing that the Amoonguss was so disruptive in Game 1, let's bring it out front and center to already get up to some shenanigans. You could try and go for some redirection here, you can just try and support your opposing Calyrex, but the Incineroar, a really nice play coming in here for Adam. It's almost forcing Shohei to have to go for the Terra Dark or a Protect onto his own Calyrex to stop the Calyrex on Adam's side going for a free Astral Barrage here.
But do you continue, you know, do you want to try to do something a little bit different? You could go for the Parting Shot in the same way, but you know the Amoonguss also has the opportunity to just Rage Powder away from that. There isn't actually a Grass Terra available from either of these Pokemon. Incineroar for Adam is going to have a Terra Water, so there is not really a great way to actually try to get around the Rage Powder or the Spores.
Exactly, and you kind of want to think maybe if that Calyrex Shadow Rider that likes to go for those nasty plots wants to also go for the Terra Dark, you could even catch it with a cheeky fake out, but it's not to be. It's leaving the field here for Shohei, going to be nice and protected in the back where it will have its time to shine, and instead is replaced with the intimidating Incineroar. Again, going to be weakening the offensive pressure on the opposing Incineroar, but also allowing Amoonguss to have a little bit more flexibility.
And it's also able to resist the Astral Barrages.
Yes,
if you're
exactly.
expecting that to come through from the Shadow Rider Calyrex, and it's another way that you're able to try to withstand some of that offense. But as we've seen from Adam in the game number 1 and game number 2, he's wanted to try to get those Calm Mind boosts up right away for this Shadow Rider.
But there's the fake out going down into what was the Calyrex Shadow Rider, going to be kind of null and void into the switching in Incineroar as the Calm Mind does go up. This is risky. The Amoonguss has the potential to go for a Spore and just kind of shut down this opposing Pokemon.
And if it does, that would be absolutely huge. The Spore goes into the Shadow Rider Calyrex from Adam. And even though you're able to get that Calm Mind boost up, it's immediately put to sleep.
At least it's going to be able to get its turns in early when the opposing Calyrex isn't on the field. You have the Incineroar now. You're a Fairy type, so you don't have to worry so much about things like the knockoff coming through. We saw what negligible damage that was able to deal before. But then if you do lose your Covert Cloak, that's where Fake Out can kind of roll into the match as it goes through. If I was these trainers right now, if I was Adam, I'd want to try and find a way to get rid of this Amoonguss as fast as possible. You have to kind of rely on your Incineroar, but again, Incineroar in a position where it can be put to sleep in this turn as well if it doesn't want to get off the field, but there's no safe switch in other than potentially a Rillaboom.
Even then, right? Do you really want to put yourself in a position where you're sort of off cadence? Is the Rillaboom okay in that position when you think that maybe there's a Shadow Rider Calyrex waiting in the wings to just peek its head back out before the Shadow Rider can wake up on Adam's side? But it is going to be the Rillaboom. You don't want to let another Pokemon go to bed. It is too early for that in this World Championships, and you got to make sure that the Shadow Rider wakes up. There's the mandatory turn. Try to get it out of here, but the parting shot into that slot is also going to make sure that Shohei can get another pivot in.
Yep, insult to injury here as the Incineroar able to get off the field. It's not running Flare Blitz, so it's not something that could really apply pressure to that opposing Rillaboom. So it's nice here for Shohei to adjust things, bring in a Pokemon that can apply some offensive pressure and maybe even capitalize on the fact that this opposing Calyrex hasn't been allowed its boost, and you now are in a position where you can start dealing out some big damage. Particularly if it keeps sleeping, you could go for another nasty plot here.
You could, but this Calyrex is just going to continue to wait back there. It's going to be the Rillaboom once again here for Shohei. It's the adjustment that we saw in game number 2. But this time around, when you take a look at the Rillaboom, you know that it has U-turn. You can actually just try to get some super effective damage down into the Rillaboom on the other side. Unfortunately, it is just going to be the fake out into that slot, so we don't get a chance to see it. But the wake up here from this Shadow Rider on Adams is going to get the double damage down into both of these Pokemon. There's no Assault Vest here on Shohei's Rillaboom. Try to withstand that, but the Sludge Bomb just whittle away at this Fairy type Shadow Rider.
It can whittle away, but it's, even though it's super effective, it's not dealing a monumental bit of damage, particularly with the grassy terrain on the field, being able to allow the Calyrex Shadow Rider to regroup a little bit. The issue is, however, can the Calyrex Shadow Rider do anything before the opposing Amoonguss is able to put it back to sleep here?
Yes, with the amount of damage that has come through so far, not necessarily. So Protect that we see Adam hovering over would be a great way to be able to protect himself from that. Rillaboom just leaves the field, though.
I think it has to.
Yes, Incineroar. You can bring that back in. Got the Intimidate drop down onto the Rillaboom once again. Kind of force Adam into this game of chicken. Do you want to try to get this Rillaboom off the field, try to reset those Intimidate drops, and leave something else a bit more vulnerable?
Shohei really looks in the driving seat now, though, because yes, the Rillaboom's going to get off the field. It's intimidated, so the U-turn really doesn't do too much, and you have just protected your only Calyrex Shadow Rider that has dropped its Ghost typing, so a fake out from the opposing Incineroar may be able to come through once you knock it off as well with the knockoff, obviously, on the Incineroar, just removing that Covert Cloak from play. The Rillaboom on Shohei's side, sitting in a very vulnerable spot. You've already mentioned a lot about how the Assault Vest isn't in play, so it makes it very difficult for that Rillaboom to have longevity on the field. Spore coming through, Amoonguss doing what it does best, just trying to shut down this opposing Calyrex. And this is what I like from Adam here. You brought the Incineroar on, you could choose your fake out target here. I think if you're going to shut down that opposing Amoonguss, that would be best. You don't want a Spore, and you can maybe allow that Calm Mind to come through.
Could, or you can even just potentially secure the knockout with something like that Astral Barrage. At this point, I think it would be a little bit too close for comfort. So Adam opting to try to get in a bit more of that special defense capability for that Shadow Rider. That's a full HP. There's also no Terra yet used on Shohei's side. I think that's a very important distinction between the first two games that we saw.
Yes, because he got that Calyrex out there right at the beginning of this game 3, unlike the previous turns. The fake out going down into that pesky little mushroom there. As the fake out comes through on the opposing Incineroar as well into this. Oh, no, it's actually the knockoff, getting rid of the item there. Calm Mind is coming through. This is what Adam likes to do with this Calyrex, just trying to negate a potential parting shot. Particularly as there wasn't one in this particular turn, this boost is going to be in play going into the next turn as well. So you're right here, Rosemary. Going for something like the Astral Barrage could really put a threat on the potential of that Amoonguss.
It's such a tough call, though, right? Shohei is considering maybe I can just go for the fake out. I think that would at least be doing a little bit. If I'm lucky, I'm able to get the fake out into the Incineroar, but there was also the play that could have parting shot in that turn. Very, very tough call to make. Fortunately, going to go for the fake out. It's going to be a very moot turn here for Shohei as you look at this Amoonguss and Incineroar.
Yes, I think the Incineroar on Shohei's side is in a very interesting spot here because you could always potentially, switch it out, bring the Rillaboom in and just kind of, I don't know, let it go down to be able to bring and Intimidate back in later on. But it's all about this Calyrex right now. Being able to go for this Astral Barrage, not going to be able to get any damage down onto the opposing Amoonguss as you're able to connect down onto the Incineroar. Significant chunk of damage, but really not putting it in the danger zone as the Incineroar on Adam's side decides to, make a little bit of a switch, pivot things around. The Amoonguss on Shohei's side, I'm not going to lie, I would not be surprised to see that leave the field, get a little bit more HP back with its Regenerator ability, and rejoin a little bit later on. But it's what you're going to do in its place.
No fourth Pokemon revealed to Shohei yet from Adam. We can see what is in the back here, but you're always looking for an opportunity to actually get that piece in at the right moment. A parting shot here from Shohei's Incineroar is going to allow it to pivot off of the field while also dropping that special attack stat here from this Shadow Rider. There's a couple of options. Like, as you said, you could bring in the Rillaboom if you wanted. You do have the opportunity to go for fake out into the other slot. But I think it's time, bring back out the Shadow Rider. I think you're okay knowing that there isn't actually going to be something on the other side that's going to do super effective damage to something like the Terra.
Also, the speeds haven't been altered here by a tailwind from the Roaring Moon. So if you're Shohei, you're going to be pretty confident that your Calyrex is going to be in a prime position to start getting some damage on the board. Particularly when you've got the Amoonguss there, you can always try a little bit of redirectional support and allow a nasty plot to go up. But the issue is, if you are the Rillaboom just joining here on the field, you could always try and go for the fake out into that opposing Amoonguss and once again protect your Calyrex. But Amoonguss getting out of there going, I need to regenerate some HP. And also maybe if you're bringing in a Pokemon from the back like the Incineroar, you can throw down that Intimidate onto the Rillaboom once again.
What a tough call, though. You have to assume that Shohei is going to try to go for the terrestrialization here, not having the Amoonguss to try to keep it safe. You want to know that you're able to kind of withstand this oncoming damage in your own right. The only problem is if you do see something like that Draining Kiss, you are a bit vulnerable to that. You have no Rage Powder to try to redirect that away, but it's just going to have to be a nasty play. You want to try to outpace the Shadow Rider Calyrex on Adam's side.
It's going to be the Astral Barrage, though, coming through, connecting on both the opposing Pokemon here. Again, really negligible damage, particularly considering there's a nasty plot on the opposing side. If I was Adam, I'd be quaking in my little hooves right now from the damage potential that can come back across the field at you right now.
This has been a bit of a slower game. We're really waiting for this kind of like this opening.
Yes.
Both of these players are looking for the right opportunity to try to just put the pressure on the gas.
Well, there's no safety net, right? This is game 3. The winner of this game wins the set. So there is no room for error. It's Pokemon World Championships. It's game 3 of round 1. You want to set the tone for your tournament journey here.
Fake out on the Incineroar could actually try to stop this Shadow Rider in its tracks. Shohei's worked so hard to try to get these nasty plot boosts onto this horse who could actually start to get itself into this race.
But Adam too, though. Adam's been working really hard on these Calm Mind boosts. It's not just for the special attack. The critical thing is the special defense boost.
Yes.
Because you're against such a formidable special attacker in the form of the Calyrex, you need to make sure that, even as the Fairy type, you're going to be able to hang on to these Astral Barrages and make sure that you can deal significant damage, even with like a double up potential from something like the Incineroar, and get rid of the threat on the opposing side. Speaking of threats, Amoonguss is back on the field, though, as a defensive play from Shohei comes through in the form of the Protect.
Smart. You're going to be able to bypass that fake out.
Yep.
That way, you're not actually going to leave yourself vulnerable to taking too much damage. The Amoonguss gets a chance to switch back in. You're not worried about it taking too much damage. Calm Mind, though. Oh, it's starting to get a little bit out of hand here. This is the third Calm Mind that Adam's been able to go for in this game number 3, which means that that special defense has 3 stages on top of it.
I honestly feel like in this game 3, we've been like climbing up the hill or like the roller coaster. You're going up, 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 and we're about to hit the peak and roll out with the damage here. The fact that these Calm Minds are in play, the fact that you've also got the Nasty Plot on the opposing side means the momentum is going to be key. Something like the Astral Barrage coming through on Adam's side, follow up by a potential Flare Blitz into that Amoonguss could be a key to success. But Amoonguss playing very defensively, going for the Protect, as on Shohei's, the faster Calyrex is able to go for the Astral Barrage. First of all, connects down, decent damage, but no KOs.
No KOs just yet, but it looks like it could be very close onto something like that Incineroar, as the Astral Barrage in return. It's going to come down to what this Incineroar is able to do on the outside of this, but that Shadow Rider Calyrex is on his last legs. It's the Flare Blitz into that slot. Not ready to do the Protect. It's enough to get the knockout. That is going to be Shohei losing his restricted in this third and final game of the set.
It's down and out. It left the field at the beginnings, come back in, got set up, but just wasn't able to get the knockouts here. A sigh of celebration there for the Incineroar on the field. Of course, it's not going to be able to get any boost from this, but it certainly swings the momentum into Adam's favor. The Amoonguss sitting very vulnerable now to a very similar play. The Astral Barrage and the Flare Blitz coming through. Rillaboom, same boat here, because it is not running that Assault Vest, and you can't even fake out the opposing Calyrex thanks to the Covert Cloak.
Covert Cloak is still intact. That is going to be a big problem here for Shohei to try to get through the rest of the Shadow Rider Calyrex's HP pool. Still sitting at half. Going to be getting a little bit more recovery, as well as this grassy terrain is still active on the field. But it's all about what's in the back here. Adam sees an out, sees the win at the end of the tunnel, and that is with the super effective damage that this Roaring Moon might be able to dish out.
And honestly, I love that Flare Blitz play going down into the Calyrex, because if Amoonguss redirects it, it redirects it, but if you protect it, then you're not going to be dealing damage. Fantastic play. Incineroar taking a little bit of a break as the Calyrex also goes for the Protect. The grassy terrain has come back onto the field as well, going to be able to get that recovery up, give the Calyrex a little bit more longevity on the field here. As the Spore comes through, of course, it's going down into a Rillaboom. It's a grass type. It's not going to do any connecting here.
It's still something, though. You have to hope that it's going to be anything on the other side. The Incineroar.
Anything but the Rillaboom.
Yes, and literally anything but. Even in something in the back, you know that it's going to be susceptible to that fake out, or to that Spore. So now what's next, right? For Adam, it's still about trying to make sure that you've got the Shadow Rider Calyrex able to pin and finish up the game.
Yes, and again, if you're Adam, you have all 4 Pokemon remaining, so you have a little bit of flexibility, particularly when you have utility with something like the U-turn and the parting shots on your kind of Rillaboom and Incineroar pivot Pokemon, so you can keep applying pressure with these Intimidates to the opposing Rillaboom, or just completely shutting them down here as well with the Fake Out.
Astral Barrage. If this is not enough to clean up this Amoonguss, then there's an opportunity to go for the Spore into this Shadow Rider Calyrex. Give yourself a little bit of breathing room, but as that Astral Barrage is enough to knock out Shohei's Rillaboom, that is going to be just 2 Pokemon left here. Spore does connect. That is important, but it's just the Incineroar left to try to deal damage.
You know what? This gets very dicey here. The Incineroar on Shohei's side doesn't have Flare Blitz. Its only kind of attacking move, other than Fake Out, is Knockoff. And that's going down into a Fairy Pokemon on the opposing side. That's not going to be
so little.
Exactly. It's going to be doing like no damage. The Rillaboom as well, not going to be worrying too much, particularly when there is such low HP on that Incineroar. The Rillaboom on Adam's side, yes, it can't do too much to the opposing Incineroar, but you can clean up into that Amoonguss with something like the U-turn. You can maybe try and go for just, I don't know, Wood Hammer damage into the Incineroar, or even just the U-turn yourself. But there's the forfeit. Shohei concedes.
He is going to concede there, and Adam, Cherfaoui is going to win the very first Swiss match that we have here in day number 1 of the 2024 Pokemon World Championships. Fantastic.